All right, everyone. So we're going to go over the trades from today. This is going to be my first recap from Mexico. I traded this morning at the airport, and actually, it was totally fine. Traded from the uh, Delta Lounge or whatever at Kennedy Airport in New York, and I had a great day. Finished up $5,322.52 in about 34 minutes of trading, which was all I had between well, 7 a.m. and I sat down at like about 10 of 7 and when I had to board my flight. So, and now I'm in Mexico. So it's only 1:15, well, I guess 2:15 Eastern Standard Time. But anyways, so when I sat down this morning, the first stock I saw was SGBX. Now, SGBX, you could see it came all the way back down. This is a stock that I've traded before, and when I first looked at it, I was like, when I first saw it on the scan, I was sort of like, well, the float's 1.4 million shares, but is there any news behind it? I didn't see any news behind it from today or yesterday, so I was like, well, if there's no fresh news, what should we really expect out of it? Now, having said that, we have seen some big moves in the last couple days on stocks with no news, and so I don't want to completely write it off, but I decided I wasn't sure about it. And then when I pulled up the pre-market chart, I was looking at it at 7 a.m. right here for a possible trade at about 2:15. And I haven't been using my laptop at home. At home, I've been using my Falcon desktop computer. So this was actually the first time I fired up my laptop since my trip to Canada in my camper van. That was in August. So I had an issue where my clock wasn't synced. So I thought, I'm like, okay, looking for 7 a.m. and I'm thinking I'm going to take a trade on this at about maybe $2.10 right at 7 a.m. And what I was looking at there, and I'll show you on the 10-second chart, was right here, kind of coming into 7 a.m. It had just popped up and then was pulling back for a second, but my clock was 30 seconds fast. So because it was fast, I thought it was 7 a.m. and I was like, wait, there's no volume. What's going on? There's no volume coming in. So because there was no volume coming in, I was like, I don't know, this is really weird. I'm kind of shocked. And then all of a sudden, all this volume came in, which was what I thought was like 30 seconds late, but it was because my clock was off. So I'll go into my date and time, and then I just click sync now, and it should be fine here. It shouldn't change anything, but you just sync it, and then you just make sure your clock is synced, even down to the second. Because when you're watching stocks, especially at like 7 a.m., you're watching the second it becomes 7 a.m. So anyways, as it turns out, at 7 a.m., it did pop up. It went from 210, but only about 222. Anyway, so I was going to take that trade right there, and I missed it. Now, on this, I wasn't looking at the 10-second chart at that time. I mean, I always have it up in the corner here, but it's really just zoomed into the last couple candles like this. So what I was really looking at was the 5-minute chart, which had a high of about $3. And I was looking at the 1-minute chart, which was showing that we were sort of on this little micro pullback right around here. So I kind of thought, if this can break over what level, like, this high back here and then this up here, we might be in good shape for a move back up towards that pre-market high. Let's see. Now, I wasn't worried about a ton of selling at 7 a.m. because this isn't a stock where the move started yesterday, continued after hours, and now pre-market is continuing. When that's the case, you do sometimes have people that take profit who are in from earlier in the move, but I wasn't worried about that here. But even in spite of that, it didn't hold up very well at 7 a.m. and ended up pulling back and dipping down. So first trade of the day could have been SGBX if my clock had been synced correctly, and probably with 5,000 shares, it would have been, a couple $100 winner, $200, $300, because it didn't really go up all that much. It went up 10 cents a share, but you never really capture the whole move. So then that was our leading gapper, and behind that, we really didn't have anything else that looked super good. But of course, I was still watching MNPR because it made this huge move yesterday of like 800%. This stock went from $2 to 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, all the way to 34, drops back down to 16, bounces back up to 36, drops back down, and pre-market, I watched it right here. I had the chart up and I thought if this can break over VWAP, I'm looking for a move up to pre-market high. If we could break that level, I'm looking for a move up to here. So I bought right as it broke VWAP right here. This is the break of VWAP setup. So I was getting in this and ended up going up about $2 a share. It's not bad. I started with 250 shares. I added the position and locked up $1,651 of profit on MNPR. So that was my first trade at about 7:15 right here. So this is about 7:15 a.m. So got a little trade there, was hoping that we were going to break VWAP and move higher. That didn't end up happening. So, it is what it is. Took the profit and was looking for the next stock. So at that point, we also had XPON on the scanner. XPON, which is a lower float stock, 330,000 share flows, you can see. Did make a move yesterday and pre-market and after hours. Pre-market sold off, and then all of a sudden it comes up here and rips all the way back up. So here's what I did on this one. On this one, it pops up here to 450, and I see it, and I jumped in at 450, and then I got right out for a $60 loss. Let me show you that on the 10-second chart. So what you'll see on the 10-second chart is that it hit 450, and then it pulled back for a moment. So if we zoom in here, you see how it hit 450 and then it pulled back for a moment. And so that actually formed a micro pullback right there. So on the level 2, we saw it go to 450, 455, and then the price dips to 440, it holds, and then I got back in right here for the break of 455. And it goes up to 65, 75, 85, all the way up to $5. And I took that trade right there, bought the dip, it goes up to 510. Sorry about that. Dips again, goes back up to 520, hits a high of 530, and so I traded it in this area here. First trade was jumping in quick, stopped out for a loss, got back in, added, took some profit at 5, bought the dip, took some profit, bought the dip, took some profit, added, took some profit, and then we had that final pop in rejection, and I finished with $3,600 of profit on it. Nothing crazy big, but not bad either. And I had to get down to board my flight at 7:45. So after that trade, which was at about 7:30, I was like, okay, this was kind of interesting because there weren't any other fresh headlines at 7:30. So we had this at 7:30, 7:25, and then there was nothing else. So I was like, well, since my flight boards at 7:45, I'm not going to have time to wait till news comes out at 8 a.m. So I guess I'll leave now. So I left at like 7:35, and then when I was on the plane on my phone, I saw UPXI, and I was like, gosh darn it, look at this, one of the biggest moves of the week, and I missed it. This stock gets some news out. Now it takes action against apparent stock manipulation of fractional share roundup with reverse stock split. I feel like that's a headline that is sort of like meaningless because there's no action they're going to be able to take. There's nothing they're going to be able to do. I mean, I just don't think there's anything that's going to happen. So I don't think it's just my opinion, but I'm just kind of, I don't know. So anyway, so it ends up going from 3 to 4 to 6 all the way up here to 850. And if we pull this up on the 10-second chart, basically what happens is before the news actually officially hits the news wire, it starts popping up. Actually, no, it was right. I guess it was right about that time, 8:40, which is kind of an odd time, to be honest, because usually we don't get headlines at that time. But anyways, I guess maybe it was 8:30 and then it started to pull away. So it goes up to 4 to 450. But if you look at this yesterday, this stock popped up. It went from 4 all the way up to 8, and then came all the way back down to 320. It was kind of like sympathy to MNPR, but it didn't hold up at all. And there were a couple others like that too. So I don't know what I would have really thought of it, because after seeing that pop in rejection yesterday, I don't know if I would have wanted to jump on this. I probably would have been pretty cautious. Anyways, it goes to 4 and basically just straight up to 850. Then it drops down to 6, bounces off VWAP, back up to 8, back down to 6, back up to 8, roller coaster. Then it goes sideways, ascending wedge here, so support here, breaks out over 750, goes up to 859. I probably would have taken that trade. And then breaks 950, goes up to 10 and up to 12. So, and that was all in a span of like, you know, 20 minutes. Then at the open, it halts up and it goes all the way up. I mean, look at this. It halts up here at 10. It opens and halts up a second time, halts up a third time. Then it halts down. Then it halts back up. I mean, very volatile, no question about it. But I feel a little bit of FOMO that I obviously completely missed that move. But it is what it is. You can't catch them all. So they'll go with or without you. If I'd been sitting here trading this, I'd like to think I would have done really well on it. But, hindsight always has a bias. You're like, of course I would have done well. Couldn't have possibly lost on it. But I'm sure there are people who traded it and bought it and got in too high and got stopped out and lost on it. So anyway, so that's UPXI. And as I'm just saying down now, it's 2:30, so kind of coming towards power hour. Power hour on Friday, not usually a day I expect a lot. I think most traders who have done well have probably already taken their profit off the table and are calling it a day. But what I think is good is that UPXI is up 238%. MNPR yesterday, 7,800%. Let's see what the MNPR chart looks like right now. So, hanging out at 19. So like this one's definitely going to be one to watch next week. UPXI is probably one to watch next week. I mean, we've seen some really decent action here. Oh, Z card. This one was another one yesterday that went up on sympathy but got slammed back down. So yeah, it's been a little bit tricky trying to figure out if sympathy is going to work. But as I sit here right now, I was up 20,000 on Monday, 20,000 on Tuesday, 6,000 on Wednesday, 20,000 on Thursday, and then 5,000 today. So 2, 4, 6, $70,000 on the week, over $300,000 on the month of October. This is the best month of the year so far. And I'm going to try to, I'm going to have trading in Mexico here next week. So far, internet seems great, no issues there. I've got my VPN, so, I'll keep my connection secure just, to my broker and everything. But that's no big deal. Really, no issue with that. And I'm expecting, based on what we're seeing here, I was kind of wondering if momentum was going to slow down because Monday and Tuesday were good, but we didn't have anything, I don't know, crazy that happened kind of as the day went on. And then yesterday getting MNPR was like, okay, that was sort of like our drug for this week. And so we got MNPR, nice. And then today, UPXI. And although I didn't, really crush either of those, which is fine, obviously not UPXI. I got a couple trades yesterday at MNPR, but nothing crazy. It's good to see. It's good for momentum. It indicates that there's still a lot of strong sentiment in the market. And so I think that has us positioned well going into next week. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm thinking that things are looking good. And, I'm optimistic. I could be wrong, but I'm going to sit down Monday morning and pretty much the same as this week. I'm going to be looking for stocks like UPXI. So UPXI met the profile quite well. Price, float, news, relative volume, and price and percentage change on the day. So the 5 pillars of stock selection. I'll put that link, I'll pin it to the top of the comments here if you guys want to download the 5 pillars. It's a PDF, you can print it out and then you can use it when you're trading to sort of decide what you're looking at. But UPXI definitely met the criteria for the type of stock that could make a big move, and it made a really big move. MNPR yesterday, it met the criteria, but I didn't expect it, and the news, it just happened at again kind of a funny time of day, sort of like drug. It just was like, what? 10:30, 11 a.m. All of a sudden it's halted up 4 times in a row on light volume. So a little harder to trade, harder to capitalize on it, but a nice move. Um, And then Z-Car had the profile, but didn't have, um, well, you know what? It had a news catalyst on the 22nd, and that kind of surprised me because I thought, um, you know, that should give it more momentum, but it didn't. So, anyways, uh, generally, I'm going to be looking for stocks that meet these five criteria and are kind of within the bell curve of that five criteria where they have the potential to do something really exciting. Because when a stock goes up, like UPXI, $5 a share, $10 a share, that's the type of move that when it happens at the right time, I can really crush it. That's with ATNF last week, which is the stock that I did really well on. I was up about 100,000 on this one. The intraday move was from, well, this was unbelievable. I mean, this one's really crazy. This is just insane, which is why I did so well on it. But this went from $1.62 to 19. So yeah, that's to make 100 grand in one day. That's almost 20 points. I mean, it's like 15 points. That's huge. Um, UPXI, wasn't that big. Now I could have maybe traded it with bigger size and maybe made 100,000 up, but I don't really think so because it was light volume to start. Um, and so really the next best trades were when it was already up around 7 or 8. So it gets a little expensive up there. But nonetheless, we're seeing some good action. 5, 10 point moves. That's the type of stuff I'm going to keep looking for because those give me the potential to have some really nice days. So grateful to lock up the daily goal, trading from the airport. That's awesome. Squeezed in half an hour trading. Wish maybe my flight had been like 2 hours later, so I could have caught UPXI, but whatever. It is what it is. I'll be back at it bright and early Monday morning. So I hope you guys check out the 5 pillars of stock selection. And if you want to watch a free class to learn a little bit more about my strategy, I'll put a link to that in the description and to the top of the comments pinned as well. And I'll remind you, as always, that look, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk. Always practice new strategies that you're learning in a simulator before you put real money on the line and take it slow. All right, see you guys back here Monday morning.